So the goal of this test is just see what happens if you like forcibly make a disk flat through using the like boiling water trick and then putting weight on top of it to flatten the disk. So I'm going to be taking two insanities that start pretty much identical, couldn't get much closer, and then seeing what happens if I take just one of them and completely flatten it and then test the flight before and after. So here's the parting line heights before doing any changes. So you can see these two disks are like as close as you can get for two disks to being identical. And then looking at the second picture, you can show the dome, like the relative dome of each one. The red one is like, it's slightly domier than the green one. So that's why I chose to do the changes to it. But I'll show you how much flatter it gets at the end. So these first couple shots are like a 6 to 8 mile an hour headwind. So you see I'm just putting a little bit of hyzer. So they'll ride it out and never really fight back. So that's the first one. These discs are essentially identical at this point. This is before I've done anything to them. So you see fairly significant amount of hyzer, but it still dumps out at the end. It doesn't really start coming back before it hits the ground. So that's why this went a lot higher, but also throw it harder. So it just starts to come back at the end. You can see it back there. Tried to do the same thing here, didn't get quite enough height. You can see it had to follow the same flight, but the other one had a little more time to get down. Identical flight, really. Threw that one nice and high, but with much less hyzer, so it gets that nice sweep over. And here coming back into the same tailwind this time instead of the headwind. So put it on hyzer, let it ride out. It fights back much quicker. Same thing here. Threw this one a little low. Put hyzer on it, threw it low pretty hard. So it hits the ground before it gets a chance to fade back out. So after throwing all those shots the first time, I went back and I took the red disc and followed the instructions in a video that I'll link in the description of using like almost boiling water to flatten the disc. And the disc came out pretty flat. You can see from this picture, it really can't be any flatter unless it was pedal topped. It's pretty much board flat. So moving on to the PLH pictures. So surprisingly, the red disc actually has like it's almost like a whole different disc on the parting line height. So it's much less stable than the green one now. So just looking from the pictures, but as a dome is still the same on the green. I did not do anything to change it. So I'm just going to show videos of the red shot, or the red disc being thrown this time rather. So it got much less stable, and I really couldn't get this thing to fly straight no matter what I did. Alright, so you can see the first shot, it's back in the headwind. So I threw it really high, a small amount of hyzer, but you can see it just flips over now and doesn't even have a chance of coming back. It just burns into the ground. I have the tailwind again, same amount of hyzer as the last shot, and even with the tailwind, you can see it accelerates to the ground. It just completely turns over. And here at the end, I threw this with so much hyzer and so high, but it still did not want to fade until it had completely stalled out, and then it came back just a little bit right at the end. So overall, thanks for MVP Steve for sending me these discs so I can do this test. It was a little bit different of a conclusion than we expected. We thought that by flattening out the disc, we'd actually raise the PLH to make it more stable. So we did succeed in making the disc flatter, and it's like it couldn't get any flatter than this. But I'm not sure if I did something wrong, but the PLH became significantly lower and actually reduced the stability by quite a bit. So if you want a flat roller disc, you can grab an Insanity and flatten it out. Be perfect.